something
This month of Adar is probably the most the most opportune month of the whole year. It says Mishenichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha, and every single year it says that if a person has it says in the Talmud, if a person has a something that they have to take care of in court, they should wait and that they have to fight someone negative in their life almost, right? That they should preferably wait till Adar to do so, because at that time there's an auspicious energy in the air that's more conducive for a victory or for success, specifically in court, but it's in basically all matters of life, like we're gonna speak about. But it's just, it says that the month of Adar, there's a special mazel in the air. It's actually the mazel of, like, there's the flow, there's the mazel of fish. The mazel is the fish, is the Pisces. And it happens to be the last month of the year if we go back to the winter year, right? Which we started off with Tishrei, and the last month, it's the 6th month, right? It's Adar. And then it actually corresponds also to the 6th month, which is on the, if we go on according to the summer season, it corresponds to Elul, which both months are very much preparatory in nature. That Adar is preparatory for Nisan. We're going to explain that. But Elul, we already know, everyone knows that what's Elul? HaMelech V'Sadeh, the king is in the field. It's the whole time of hearing the shofar. You're getting ready for the new year, right? That comes in Elul, that you prepare for the Shana, a new year. But did you know, and I'm sure we all know, that there's a new year, which is called Nisan, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, Rosh Chodashim, and it's the new year as well. Both are called new years. What's the difference between the new year of Tishrei and the new year of Nisan?
Rosh Hashanah and Rosh Chodashim.
So the difference is that one is called the Rosh Hashanah, and that's Tishrei, because the Shana refers to the year and refers to the physical creation of the world, where it's a new time for it's a new time for rebirth. Everything starts off on the, we could say, the physical level, right? And then the new year on the spiritual level is Rosh Chodesh Nisan, which comes from the word nes, and it has to do with the.
So that's the first month.
It's called the first month. HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. It's really the first month. So, but which one is the first? Is it the first? Is Tishrei is the first? So it says, actually, there was a little bit of a machloket at the creation of the world, which one and at what point did we switch from being the first to the first? So it used to be that Tishrei was the official first, and then it turned out to be that Nisan became like really the first when the Jewish people came out of Egypt, and then that's called really the first because that refers to miracles. Nisan comes from the word nisim, and it refers to miracles, which refers to our nature, to the essence of who we really are as a Jewish people, that we're really miraculous. That the whole coming out of Mitzrayim, the whole concept of coming out of Egypt, the whole rebirth of the people, right, of Israel, and coming through the desert and coming all the way to the Holy Land, to Eretz Yisrael, and coming to the place of opposition and wars and whatever it is, and here we are, we're still here, and it's mamish, like up until now in the current second and that we are here in this world, right? We are a testament to Hashem, which God says, Atem Eidai, Ne'um Hashem says, you want to know who my witnesses are? These are God's witnesses, right? We're the Jewish people who, and that is a miracle. That's a miracle, the fact that we exist. And so we've got two heads of the year, the head of the year of the physicality, and the head of the year, which is called Shana, which comes from the word Shinui. Shana means a change, where we go through changes. And changes are hard for us. Like when summer comes, we love it, usually, like, unless there's always people who are like, no, I don't like the sun. Like, there's always like, what, were you like born in Alaska? Like, he's like, There's always like one person like that. No, it's like the sun just gets me, and they're like the whatever, like eh, so.
People
But
that doesn't like the heat.
the people that
The
right,
strong light.
yeah,
They're
but
sensitive.
or they're just like from like no offense, but like from like Russia or something, like deep down, like in and like the only way to stay warm is like with a cup of vodka and like and like otherwise, like anyways, we've got changes in the year. We've got the summer and we've got the fall, which is also extremely beautiful. Like the fall is just that whole season where all the leaves fall and that something is in the air and something is mishaneh, something is changing, right? And then you go from there to spring, which is magical, which is right. And then from there we go. Sorry, I missed it. We're in the midst of the winter, so I'm like maybe it's a Freudian slip of like, okay, it's been cold this week. Yeah, but there's the winter, and we have to wither the winter and realize that there's a deep lesson in the winter, that in the fortitude, in the withstanding the the obstacle of we gain something very tremendous out of there, in being in the winter. And then we've got the spring, and so all
war in the winter. WW.
okay.
The war in the winter.
The
WW.
the book is coming out. She's writing a book on English. Yeah, yeah. Seriously, that would be a bestseller. But we've got the year, the cycle of the year, which is called Shana. But then we have a cycle, which is a miraculous cycle, which breaks the cycle, which basically says that it doesn't matter really what is going on outside, because inside it's all really miraculous. Then you're able to like mamash see Hashem, see God in all situations. And this is what the Baal Shem Tov says, Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamim. King David says that, of course. But the Baal Shem Tov explains that everything is shaveh, that everything is the same. That everything is the same. Whether I'm being praised and I say, thank you, Hashem. Wow, it's so great to hear a compliment. Everyone loves to hear a good compliment. But when you're actually admonished, then you get triggered. Your ego comes out. I mean, it's the pain and the hurt comes out, and then the wanting to lash back comes out, and the anger comes out, and you're like, this feels bad, and your mind says, I'm that. Or when I'm praised, I'm like, I'm this. And the truth is, you're neither. Right? You're basically neither. You're not that, because you're conscious. Your observation that's basically observing both sides of you that are being either praised or admonished, and it's your mind that's just basically watching the two and seeing that both have incredible qualities and both are godly messages that are coming to me. In the case of and a lot of times the tzaddikim would actually look to be admonished. They would appreciate the trigger because it's a learning opportunity. So they would say, like, bring on the trigger. And even King David says that. We're not supposed to really say that. We're not supposed to say. We're supposed to say, Al tevieni ledei nisayon. But King David said that, and the greatest of the great, Mamish David Melech Yisrael Chai v'Kayam, he said, Hashem, I want to come so close to you. I want to know you. I want to know myself. He says, bring me. And he had the test of Bathsheba, which was also a learning opportunity. It was actually the deepest learning opportunity, because from there we learned tshuva. We learned tshuva. Who teaches us tshuva? The power of tshuva was David HaMelech. That even his mistake wasn't his mistake, but we learned from there not to ask necessarily for a test, but that tzaddikim would look for the trigger and would look, and it would say, what is Hashem teaching me? Very, we would say, a high level. But it's the level that we're asked to be on, to come to. And at that point, we're basically asking ourselves, what is a miracle? And like, yeah, I know this may sound like, how does that relate to what we're saying? But like, if I had to ask you a question, how would you define a miracle? Just think about that in your mind for a second.
Something that
Which is
surprised us. It's not
Okay, let every
not in the natural course of
Okay.
events.
What is a miracle, right? It's a good question. You're just saying it's a miracle. Well, what is a miracle? So we've got Nisan, right? Which is the month of, starts off the whole cycle of miracles, right? But we precede it with Adar. Just like we precede Tishrei, which is the whole knowing of Hashem within the world, where he becomes Melech on the world, where by Elul, we recognize him in the world. We go to the field, we recognize Hashem in the field. How do we recognize Hashem in the form that he is miraculous in the world? How do we recognize that? The month before. What's the month before? Adar. We recognize and we prepare for the mindset of miracles. And that's what it says, Mishenichnas Adar marbim besimcha. Because the whole month is really a positive month that is connected to miracles. It's the month before Nisan, and it is. And the way the Gemara puts it is somchim geula legeula. We actually take these two levels of redemption. We've got two levels of redemption, and we put them together. So Chassidus explains what's the difference between the miracles of Adar versus the miracles of Nisan. Okay, think about that for a second. What is the difference between the miracles of the month of Adar and the miracles which are the miracles of the month of Nisan?
It's God's hidden behind in Purim for Adar, and then in Nisan he reveals himself.
Okay.
I don't know if she just said what I was thinking.
Say that.
Like in Nissan, we were passive. Like it was Hashem did it for us.
Nisan we were passive, and Adar were more active. Wow, I like that. That's a great way to put it. Anyone else? We took it upon ourselves, right? What's the difference between the miracles of Adar versus the miracles of Nisan? They're both called miraculous months. And again, they relate to each other, just like Elul and Tishrei relate to each other, right? Being on the end of the summer months, and this is now the end of the winter, going into spring. We're learning a lot of lessons from this winter that we get, right? There's a lot of lessons in the winter. And yes, so before we answer this, I know we're like putting out like a bunch of questions. So here's another question, just to put it out there. And that is, we know that some years we have a leap year, Shana Meuberet, where we add an extra month, right? And the question is, why do we add the extra month? And I'll just explain why is it that we add sometimes an extra month? Okay, sure, this is a very brief explanation, but it goes like this, that in the secular Gregorian calendar, it goes by the sun, right? It's the solar year, right? By the Muslims, they go by the lunar year. Now, what happens is that when we have the lunar year, certain events fall out on the lunar year completely on a different day where they are on the solar year in the next year, right?
They don't have the same amount of days.
Because they're not the same amount of days, and right? Exactly. So now the Torah says that we have to celebrate Pesach, Passover, during Aviv. It's called, right? It's called the Chag Aviv. It's called the time of spring. So it must be celebrated in spring, which the Talmud says actually reminds us of the miraculous, of the above nature, where all of a sudden you see these beautiful red flowers just sprouting out of like earth, and you see like the beautiful, trees that are just blooming, and it's just, you see the life, and you're like, miracle, right? Which that's what King David says, that God took out the Jewish people bekosharot, during the time of kosharot, and the Talmud says beki sherut. It's a time which is a beautiful time to come out of slavery, because it's a time of like, you're not going out and you have to have coats and, you know, like you're roughing it up. You're going out and it's like perfect like weather, and you have, yeah, and you're just, you know, and you're walking out into like Hashem's goodness, mamash, the chesed of Hashem, and that's the month of Nisan, which is corresponds to the chesed of Hashem. So, anyways, the month of Adar, and the question is, so it says that Pesach needs to be during the spring, right? Now, how do we make it that it always falls out in the spring, right? It means that we can't rely on either the lunar or the solar calendars, right? We have to have like a merging of the two, which is a very deep thing, because the sun represents the above to below dimension, and the moon represents below to above dimension, which is actually the Magen David, which is what we are, as a fusion of Israel, which is Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Avram is on the right, which is the Muslims. Yitzchak is on the left, which from Esau and Israel. Yaakov is Tiferet, is the middle. And that's why we're called Am Segula, which is Segol. Segol is 1, 2, 3. We're Segol, we're Segula by Hashem. So, because that's the vowel of Segol. Segol, right? We're called Am Segula. We're the tribe, exactly. So we keep also both the lunar and the solar calendars, because that's what we incorporate. We incorporate the above nature and the nature. Again, we incorporate Nisan as well as what? As Tishrei, because both are celebrated. It's not like we're just above nature and we're like out of this world. No, you're actually in this world, and you're in this world and you're seeing God within the world, which is the miracle of Adar. Because where does Adar connect to? It's in the winter months. That's connected to Tishrei. So it's the 6th month from Tishrei, and it receives from Tishrei. Yeah, Elul is 6th from Nisan. But it prepares you for, they're connected to each other. They're like this, there's interconnected ring that really is happening, which we're going to get to, the whole idea of the interconnection. But what does it mean that we add the extra month during Adar? Why? So I asked it's my daughter's one of my daughter's birthday during the month. I said, do you know anything about Adar? She's like, oh, not that much. So we had a conversation, and her friend was there, and girls are like really deep, and it's beautiful. And she was asking, like, why can't you add the extra month during any other month? Like, why do you add the month during Adar? Why not during any other months? All right, great question. It's a great question. So the obvious answer is that basically it would be problematic to say, well, let's add it this year or here. Like which month you would say like has more precedence over the other? It wouldn't make sense. That's somewhere in the middle, and they would alternate. Like, how would that work? So it can't work that way. It has to work that everything is like piled up. Like the extra month is piled up. It's like almost like back pay. Like you almost get like everything in retroactively, and it comes back to you during that time of Adar, which is called a pregnant month. It's called Shana Meuberet. That's the thing, because you can't say it'll happen during Shvat. Why Shvat and not why not Cheshvan? Why not Kislev? So why don't they alternate it? So it can't work that way. Like the extra month is calculated because at the end is where the extraness of it is where what is pregnancy? The whole idea of pregnancy is like someone is showing, and there's another life that's within their belly, basically, that is now about to be birthed in the world. And during that year, there was an extra month that was there. Now, where does it really express itself? During the month of Adar, because during the month of Adar is where the whole purpose of Tishrei really is manifested, because the whole godliness of Hashem wanting to be in the world is that so he's actually felt that he's within the world, that we feel that he's within the world. How do we feel that he's within the world? Not in a miraculous way, in a very grounded way, in a very earthy way, in a real way, that we know Hashem is here. And what does that mean? That we realize that everything that we thought was even bad for us was really even for our best. That even things that we think are bad, they're also good. That the opposite, that the actual story that we think is like this narration of like something which is, it's all even him. He's the storyteller. He is within the story. It's all Hashem. Einod milvado, like really exists, like really here, like it's not just above nature, that inspirational thing, that Hashem is within, mamish within nature. And I thought about this today, like, how does this practically work? And it says, the Baal Shem Tov says that everything that you see is all hashgacha pratis. Hashem is telling you something in what you see. So I always ask myself, I'm from New York originally. I mean, I'm from Israel, but from New York. And, when you drive in a certain way, like sometimes, like, I try to like be as calm as possible. And I am, like, thank God, like I try, but there's a lot of like student driver, like kids that are always on the road and always on like the times that are just like the most like exactly like 8 a.m. or like, and you're like following someone and they're like not moving, and it keeps on, and it seems like there's a lot of them here. So I'm all for kids learning. I'm all for kids learning and being, and believe me, if that was my kid, I guess I would feel bad, like if someone was honking them. And I really try not, but it is something that really is something that, you're working on yourself on, especially coming from New York. So thinking about this, what is Hashem really telling me with this? Like, what's the mashal? Like, because it's like, here I am, like going through this. It's like, what is the story? Like, what am I meant to learn from this? And it kind of hit me that, what really could be the lesson of it? It could be that when people are practicing and they get it wrong, you know what I'm saying? They get it wrong. When someone is in a situation that they are practicing and they get it wrong, like for example, someone gets it, they mess up on what they said the wrong thing. They were triggered by someone and they just like, they said the wrong thing and it happened, and it's an ongoing thing, right? How do we usually respond to that? We respond to it in a form of like, I am so this, I'm that. And we blame ourselves and we shame ourselves, basically, that, this is who I am. And we hold on to that story. Whereas we realize it's just an opportunity. It's a learning, it's a driving course opportunity. Like when someone that happens, you're learning how to navigate in better next time. And the story doesn't stay as I am this. Rather, this is just this is a temporary, this is an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to see how that it's all part of the destination. It's all part of the destination, that even when we are in a tight situation, when things are, the month of Adar, the greatness of the month of Adar is it reminds us that we're not bound by what we think that the story is, that the story is completely kabi v'nahafohu, completely the opposite, that the script that we think is going to turn out is going to happen in a completely different way. And that's the miracles of seeing God within nature. Where we see Hashem within nature, very practically what that means is that we recognize that even the challenge itself or the trigger itself is a learning opportunity to bring in God in a much greater way in my life. And it's not easy because it's stretching oneself to an uncomfortable situation. I have a good friend of mine that was going through a difficult challenge, we'll put it that way, with someone else. And he asked his mentor, how do I deal with this challenge? What do I do in this challenge? I don't want to deal with it. Or he didn't want to deal with that person. They were having this really rough thing with each other. And they had to face each other, and they had to do it. So anyways, his mentor said, I want you to go look at a staircase, and I want you to think you're taking one step. I am taking a step up. And that's all he told him. And he did. He faced this situation, and it was amazing because they made shalom, they made peace with each other. They became buddies once again. And the deepest thing is that they both learned so much about themselves, about their dynamics, about who they are, right? From the trigger itself.
Wow.
Yeah. The trigger itself is what teaches us what we really are. It's an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity for seeing the miraculous within the world.
It's nice when you speak about others. I got one in my life for the first 4 years. And I know how to handle people. I know how to heal people. I know many things. Unsolved. Especially when it's the same trigger.
I don't understand. Well,
I have a person in my life.
obviously we're not. I'm not going into details with situations like that.
No, they say, or to speak about other people, kol hakavod.
No, with ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing with ourselves. The thing with ourselves is to experience the above nature. So I just want to go a little deeper in that because we're going to speak about this a lot on Adar and basically on what Purim is, because Adar is really, its greatness is Purim. But what is the greatness of Purim? So this is something that most people don't know about Purim unless you really celebrate it on a much deeper level. It's not just like the Jewish Halloween and it's like Chas v'Shalom. It's like way deeper. That it says that, and people think, oh, it's all about the drinking and Adelo Yada and whatever. And the truth is, it says Chayav inish libesume, that a person should become fragrant. Adelo Yada, until not knowing the difference between Arur Haman and Baruch Mordechai, like these two, which have the same gematria. They actually have the same numerology. It's the same exact. It's like the two goats that were there on Yom Kippur, which is similar to Purim, which are the same. There's the two dynamics. We think that it's bad, but it really is good.
Wow.
That we think that Haman is bad, but like it's really bringing us to do major tshuva. And when we think that everything is good, we were like, oh, that's not necessarily the best thing for us. Like the Alter Rebbe didn't like Napoleon because he was going to like give us so much like freedom, but it would be really not good for us. So it's like it's this dynamic. But what happens on Purim? We go back to the level of the fragrance. We go back to the level of kimin ha'etz, like all of the heroes and the heroines of Purim go back to the tree of knowledge of good and bad. Like Hadassah comes from the word Hadassim, which is fragrant, and which is the tree is fragrant. Mordechai is Maradachia, which is the incense, and Haman is Hamina Eitz Hazeh. He came from that tree, and we're basically going back to the fixing of these two trees, of the tree of knowledge of good and bad, and the unity that is really within creation. Now, but what does that mean on a practical level for us? How do we see unity on a practical level for us? So it's hard, again, because when we're triggered, I'm one person, and when I'm like this, I'm another person. That means I'm not shiviti, I'm not the same. It's not like the same energy, right? Because it's a difference, it's a fluctuation, which is okay. And actually, I think males and females have more of this nature of like the fluctuation of coming from more emotional to more like, balanced like that, and in general. But how do we see miracles within the world? By being open to the miraculous that we call nature. That nature is not really nature, that it's Hashem communicating to us if we listen to him, and we don't listen to the outside chatter too much, that thinking that the outside chatter, the news and the this and that and what's going on it's all basically, the majority is just in our minds. Like it doesn't really exist other than the moment of what Hashem is actually asking me to do in this moment. Do I have control over what's going on like in the other part of the world? Like, no. Do I have control over myself? I do. There's a funny story. They say that a husband and wife celebrated their like 70th I don't know, whatever it is, like wedding anniversary, something like major. And they asked, what's the secret of your marriage, your long marriage? You're married for 70 years. Like, that's crazy. Like, what did you do to stay married that long? So the wife said it was very easy, because when we first got married, we made a decision that all the big decisions the husband is going to make, and all the little decisions I'm going to make. And the guy's like, oh, okay. Well, what do you mean by that? So she said, okay, so the big decisions are, what's going to happen in Biden, doing that, and what's going to happen with Ukraine. I think that they should do that. They should definitely have this on that's the big decisions. But the little decisions of like, where should we live? Like, where should we send our kids to school? Like, what should we have? What kind of things? What kind of ashkafa are we having? The little decisions I'm going to make. So it's like that a lot of times we're caught in the big decisions. We're like in the big decisions of life. Things are going on, and like, oh, what's going to happen with, when we're on the news, like, or whatever it is, and we hear, and I'm not saying bury your head in the sand, but like when we do hear a little bit, it's like, whoa, but do we have to go there? Like, does it have to be like on a constant like live stream feed of like the latest of what's going on in order to do what exactly? Like, how is it going to be better for you if you not to say you're oblivious, chas v'shalom, because you could do way more when you're more calm and you're able to say Tehillim, and you're able to think, to send positive energy to the chayalim and to people in the world, versus being all like a basket case of like, what's going on? Did you hear the late? Is that going to assist? So am I living on the outside world, or am I living on the inner world? And the truth is that that where's the miracles? It's in the inner world, because Hashem is constantly talking to us within who I meet, within what is happening in the world, within my day-to-day. It's like I'm meeting Hashem in Hashgacha Pratis, in this world. That Hashem, I'm not meeting Hashem out of the world, but I'm meeting Hashem with Hashgacha Pratis. And I actually, just going back to that driving lesson things, I take it, and really this is my lesson for me, that I took out of it, that whenever I'm going to meet, I'm going to be in the back of something like that, I'm going to take that as an opportunity for me to learn patience. And Hashem is telling me, like, what's exactly, you know what? I'm here, and this is an opportunity for you to just not have to be, I'm not in control of the situation, of what's going to happen. Is it going to help me to get anxious? Is it going to help me to honk per se? Like, what is it actually going to do? Versus, I could take a deep breath in, and I could breathe out. Sure, I'll try that once in a while. You can even try it right now. It's like free, like it's really free. Yeah, you don't have to pay for it even. It's like amazing. It's like such a free, like godly drug that God is like, I'm giving it to you, all the time. The ability to breathe and to stay present in the present moment of where I am right now, and to check in of where I am right now. And that's seeing God in the miraculous, not in the freak out, anxious. Well, what if? It's stabilizing. We're mind over matter, where the parasympathetic system is now in control. It's not the sympathetic nervous system, which is in the fight or flight. It's putting me in a state of I'm in control. And that means that now I'm able to see Hashem, because I am nullified of myself, which is that ego part, which needs to be in control, which is afraid if I'm not going to get to a certain place by that certain time. And then what? And what if you did get there a couple minutes, and then that person's got, and therefore what? Like, where are these feelings really coming from? They're coming from a lot of our, exactly, fear that we have from years that we're storing inside that are not accurate, and that we're able to like let go of that story, of that programming, and be like, I'm ready now to be in the present moment and to be with Hashem and to see Hashem in the world. And that sets us up for the beautiful month, the next month of Nisan, which is a month of spring. Because how do you really appreciate even spring unless you've done the work of conditioning yourself to see beauty? Then if you just are like, I'm not used to seeing beauty, or I'm used to like driving past sunsets, like this happened tonight. Like we were coming back, it's an amazing sunset, right? And I exactly. I was singing country, Take Me Home. I had to. I love that, right? And we just pulled to the side of the road, and we were like marveling at the sunset. And because if you can't marvel at the sunset, then something is. But how can you see any beauty? Like, how can you see beauty in a child's eyes? How can you see beauty in your friend's expression? How can you like not see Hashem in the world if you don't just like simply like stop and playfully be like, this is amazing? You're like a little child. Because if you can't be a little child to appreciate life in the mischievous little thing, in that, then you can't appreciate miracles, because God could do all the miracles for a person, and a person will like totally miss it. It's like, I'm here for you. Hello, like, look at me. Hello, just I'm here, like making funny faces, and you're like, no, like, God, let me look that way. God is like, here. Remember that movie, Ghost? whatever. Anyways, back. That was like a while back, where there was 1980s. I remember that, but it was like I remember that just came and like he wanted to like waken. No, that was something else. But right, he wanted to come from the higher worlds, and he was like like in like other people like trying to like hint her, and she couldn't see it until finally, like whatever. Anyways, but Hashem does that for us all the time.
What's the name?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't Forget it. Ghost.
Oh,
Forget it.
so what's
It was It was Patrick Swayze. It was yeah, and yeah, With-
movie, so it,
yeah. Anyways,
that he couldn't release that he's not in a body, and he keep on contact.
no, that's a different one. Anyways, I could say
Understand the through many persons and ways,
Mhm.
and she was not able to see him.
I'm thinking
His
of the
birthday.
right. Anyways, after the year 2000, I really have not watched like I could say like really any movie. Like really, so this yeah, I could say really I have yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but the memory has it from I remember like 80s, 90s. So anyways, point is, forget that. Can we go back? Let's go back to so the point is that you can move the anything that's there. Yeah. The point is that Hashem is giving us signs all the time.
Yeah.
Like going like that. Look at me, I'm here. And we're like, no, it's a person that's angry at me, or it's my spouse, or it's my friend, or this is going on. And it's like we take it, no, that's not it. And we look at the trigger, and we look at where we don't want to face that situation, versus if I face that situation, what will I see? What will I be? Right? And that's Adar. That's the month of Adar, where the Jewish people had to face themselves like never before, right? And do a tshuva on Purim like never before, of doing the deepest level of tshuva, because they had to see Hashem all the way in their greatest Hamans, their worst enemies, their worst mirrors, shadows of who they were. They had to look at that and do the deepest level of tshuva, even higher than Yom Kippur. Where again, we have Tishrei and Yom Kippur, which are like related, but we have Elul, and we have almost like a Nisan type of above nature tshuva, or a day of doing tshuva. They're both connected to tshuva, right? They both forgive us. God forgives us either by fasting and doing away with the world and abolishing the physicality, versus facing the physicality and saying, yes, it's wine. Yes, it's meat, right? Yes, it's physicality, it's materialism. And I'm looking at it, am I going to be brought down by it? Or can I face it and elevate it for a higher purpose, which is not just for myself? And that's the elevation of the physical world, which happens on Purim, where we have the greatest celebration. It's like a celebration, it's like a party, literally, where you go all out, and people go and they have the mask, and the mask is like, I'm this, and I thought it's two different realities, but the truth is no. Like, I'm looking at you. I'm like, and I'm saying, Hashem, I'm like looking at you, like, stop, look at me, I'm here. I'm taking off the mask. And Hashem is like, because during the year, we're like seeing the mask, and we're not seeing that Hashem is like beyond that mask, that he's reminding us over and over that what is the lesson for me in this situation? What is the opportunity? And like us all to maybe to ask us that question, to maybe reflect on it for a moment. Like, what situation are you in right now that you could say that this is a challenge, but it's an opportunity where Hashem is talking to me, and maybe facing it and maybe seeing that person or seeing that situation, that person may not change. And it's not about them. That's the thing. It's not about them. It's about you. What lesson can I learn from wherever it is?
But I'm not godly and I'm not perfect.
So I had a huge learning experience this week, which is something very, very like intense, that you know, it was just intense in a relationship. And that I'll share, like, and my wife and I, both of us are we're very similar, but we're also very, very different. And it's amazing how, like, certain triggers of hers are triggers of mine, and my triggers are her triggers, and it's the exact opposite kind of a thing, where you say Ezer Kenegdo, it's the opposite, showing you exactly what is the hardest thing for you to work on. And it could only be done like almost in that. And that's why it's so difficult. It's so difficult. Like, marriage is really so, relationships are so difficult because
Oh, this is a miracle for me. Marriage that works is a miracle. You said
it's a mirror. Yeah. So I will just say that this trigger, which is a very, very deep trigger, was something that I was able to be more present to than in the past. And that caused a whole level of like new growth for me and for her. And again, it's almost like, whew, it's easier to be in the automatic, like auto mode, and it's just easier. But that's where the inner work really comes from. And that's where allowing miracles really comes in, because the miracle worker is like really you. It's like miracles are always there. Hashem is there. The miracle worker is allowing the miracles to be revealed, where we both saw incredible like hands of God, like because of that opportunity. And we all have those triggers with other people, with situations, with places that we're in, in our life. Like, what is the opportunity for growth? Asking ourselves that. And even if it's uncomfortable, to say to ourselves, I allow myself to feel uncomfortable. And I kept on saying that this week. You are allowed to feel uncomfortable in my body. Yeah, because the moment that you say, I'm not supposed to be feeling that, I'm supposed to be either perfect, or I'm supposed to like completely lash out. It's that exact place that I don't need to be there. I'm allowed to be imperfect, because even the mistake is the part of the learning, which is the whole idea of Purim, the whole idea of Adar, that even the journey and even the downfalls that happen are all part of the greater transformation, where you see that it's all just a big learning opportunity, and it's a big learning curve, and it's not judging ourselves or the need to be perfect. The need to be perfect is where we close things off. It's not reality.
We can't actually interact with Hashem, grow, because it's not true.
Exactly. And we try to force our reality, like as if, on the greater outer reality, and we try to make the reality of what we want to do. I mean, you think about this, like, this is what most people do, that they create like ivory towers around them. And I mean, this is much more outside of Israel. In Israel, like almost like all Like we know like all of our neighbors, and sometimes our neighbors just walk in and like we're like, hello, like we had to really like make a thing out of it, like, excuse me, like, thank you know. But in America, for example, it's not like that, where you don't know the other person, and not just in America, not in all over the world, where there's, you know, I don't know if it's probably not in South American countries as much. It's probably warmer. Depends where, but the notion is that we build a reality around us, and not a reality which is connected to community, which is connected to much more of like connection from like we make this little sub truths of like keeping everything sterile and making
Wow.
making the perfection that we want, as opposed to just basically seeing what is the opportunity for growth. Why do I have that neighbor? Like, you have that neighbor for a reason, and we have certain neighbors that are, again, it's like you ask yourself, why are they blasting music at 2 a.m, and they're like, you know, they are adults, and they are, you know, they're partying with their kids, and that's great, that's fun, and that's the way we look at them. We're like, wow, these are you know, obviously now a little less since October 7th, and they actually need some help with that. But that's where kind of like we see, like we could, like, you know, it's not about being like overly happy all the time or whatever. It's about like what is appropriate and what is right in this moment. How do I meet Hashem in this moment? Because every moment is godly. Every moment is special. Like there's a moment that you actually, you know, like a fall moment. There's no, I'm not going to be here Shabbos. You know, there's a moment that's a winter moment. There's a moment that, and that all like comes up. It's the pregnant month of Adar, where like it just becomes like pregnant. It's showing that it's basically something that is birthed. Where do I see that birth? Because birth is not easy. I mean, I've never had it, but I've been to 10 of them, thank God. With my wife. I was my wife's doula, believe it or not. I mean, yeah. Yeah. No, I'm just for my wife, not for anyone else. You could not pay me enough. But we did that. We were singing nigunim, and it was so I'm aware that experience is a very, very intense experience, very holy experience. Miriam never took epidurals. Yeah. I don't remember exactly. You'll have to ask her. I was just trying to like stay, you know, I was like, oh my God.
Another plane about time.
Yeah, it was just, anyways, but the point is that childbirth is really really hard, and yet it's miraculous. And you almost see, you know, the woman, like after all this and such pain, it's all worth it. And every like mother would say it is well worth it. I would do it again. But I would, you know, up to a certain point, you know, like, you know, people do it, but it's like, but what's the idea for us? What's the lesson for us? The lesson for us is that we also, whether we're men or women or married or single or children or older or whatever it is, we all have these pregnant adars. We have these pregnant situations that we call life. And basically it's the notion that every trigger is a pregnant opportunity. Right? Yeah. Yeah, it's that trigger. Why is that trigger coming up for me? What am I afraid of? Why? What is my inner child like actually even like?
But as a mother, you're a complete, like you're a complete human, so you can give birth to another human.
Right.
If you were a child or in the middle of the year, you couldn't make space for another person because you would be sort of like the same as them.
Right.
So, but when you realize that this situation isn't destroying me, it's hurting, but I'm still a complete person.
Right.
So I can be nurturing, so I can think about another, so I can be outside of myself and give birth to something.
Yes, exactly. But during that time, especially the ninth, especially the bottom of the ninth, it's like when where there's a 9 centimeters, the whole dilation, whatever. Anyways, I'm aware of all these terms, and like at that point, there's no thinking there. There's a tremendous amount of like pain and yelling, and like it's not rational. And that's the thing. The only way that you could connect to that is by breath, which is what we did. Like we were breathing together. We constantly within the what do you call it? The contraction. Like we had a breathing time. We're like, okay, 1, 2, breathe through it. You have this contraction, let's breathe through it. And then the contraction goes, you breathe through the contraction. And really, it's an analogy for life. It's an analogy for our contractions, for our triggers.
Same zone.
Exactly. That trigger is like, this is a trigger. This is an opportunity to breathe through it. Like I'm feeling these feelings. Yeah. These feelings are feelings of chaos. They're feelings of uncomfortability. I could breathe through it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Right. And we were actually doing nigunim at a certain point. Like we were doing like, we went through like nigunim, and that really worked out in a tremendous way where, you start to sing, like even through your hum. Da, 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 da. You could kind of like, you'd like go into like almost like a trance. It was, right. No, it was definitely benefiting both of us. It was definitely both of us. But we all have these contractions, and we're definitely right now in a huge contraction here in this world in 2024, right now in the midst of where we're at right now, right? In the war and in really Mashiach times that we're at. And actually the times of Mashiach, the times that we're in now, are referred to birth pains. That's what it's actually called. Chevlei Mashiach, the birth pangs of Mashiach, where the greatest rabbis, the greatest tzaddikim said, I want it to come, but I don't want to be there. Wow. Because it's pain. Right. And yet we know that something amazing, it's pregnant, something amazing is about to be born, because that's not just happening like without anything great that's about to really literally come forth. Something incredible is about to come forth. But in the meantime, before the Nisan, which it says in Nisan they came out, and Nisan they're going to come out again, where the Geula is going to come in Nisan, we have the miracles that we want to see God in nature. And we have so many miracles to look back upon, to thank Hashem in this very war. I mean, you could hear stories upon stories of miracles that happened to our soldiers in this war.
Yeah.
Literally. Like, and there's tons of stories, like incredibly inspirational. There's a lot of pain, and there's a lot of it. Yet, right, definitely we should feel the pain, and we none of us are immune to it, and we feel it, but yet we want to be present. What is Hashem telling us? And if we're in the sorrow and the pain, then we're not in a state of really true victory, which comes through happiness. Because any victory has to come through simcha. And when you see Hashem, like you could only really meet God like in that place of joy, because God is joy. Hashem is simcha. And children are joyous. The naturally children are joyous. They're mischievous, they're little. Adar takes us back to like the time of like when we're children, and we're like, oh, I fell over, but I get back up again. I went on my bike and this happened. I'm not like, I don't have all of these, in Hebrew they call it sritot, like dents. You're like, I'm this old, I'm this old, I have this many dents, I have this many scar, I have this going on. Adar gives us the opportunity to say, I'm a child, I'm starting again. Like I'm enjoying this and I'm nullified to this. Right. And what's the opportunity for me to learn in this place, in this space, right? Of Adar. So yeah.
And what about the fact that we have two Adars?
We have two Adars, exactly. So this year, it's such a powerful year this year because 60 days of Adar tells us that we're actually nullified to the 60. There's a concept in halacha, there's a concept in Jewish law that if you have, let's say, a bowl of let's say of meat and like a little bit of milk goes in there, so if it's 60, so then it's nullified. So the idea of 60 nullifies anything else which is there. It's called batel b'shishim. So this year we go into 60 days of Adar, we become nullified to that special energy of Adar, which is seeing godliness, seeing the opportunities within the situation. Now, I will say, like Adar, there's so much to say about the month, obviously, on so many different levels, and it's really super profound. But people that are born in Adar are known to be almost like psychic on some level. They're very, very intuitive. It's a water month, and they're very, very spiritual, yet indecisive. There's a lot of indecision of like not knowing what am I taking. There's the light side, and there's we could say the darker side of Adar, which is being not here and not there. Like I can't decide, like where am I gonna go? And that's
how to overcome that.
Are you Adar? You have a child like that?
We all are seven
We all
Adar
are.
because we are we are getting.
Yeah, okay.
Our conversion was
Adar.
seven Adar.
Wow.
Shani.
Adar is so powerful. Yeah. So
I'm just like that, Rabbi. I am
and you're
like one.
Pisces. Yeah, there
Yeah,
you
I had astrology chart done, not like for future, and
Mhm.
had said that once, and it's like the fish, and it's
Yeah.
the
It's
spirituality, and it can bring you down, like you have to, don't want to sink, you have to swim,
right.
and that's why I need to really work on being grounded, because I
Mhm.
have a Libra in me, so that's like I feel fair. And then I also have a Cancer, which is my emotion, so it's like so much water, and so
Yeah.
I really work
But again,
grounded.
like we did like a whole course on Kabbalah and astrology, and like I did it with Rachel. Some of you
Rachel,
know her.
yeah.
Yes. So, and basically the gist is you can look at astrology, be like, oh, I'm this and this and that. That all means that. Bottom line, it means it's opportunities. What is the
Right.
opportunity over there? So you could be like, this is my sun sign, and this is but like, bottom line, I am triggered, or I am in this situation. Now, how do I work from that situation? Not what what other people expect me to be, or what I expect myself to be. Like, what am I feeling? And I'm allowed to feel what I'm feeling, even in the contradictory place. But that's a very, very important thing for Pisces, for Adar, to really be cognizant of, to be emotionally honest with themselves, not for the sake of being emotional, but for the sake of being truthful. Because you could be emotional and be like reactive, versus you could be emotional and you could see something that is telling you something. This emotion is there because of this. And therefore what? Like, what lesson can I learn from there? So it's about being like more grounded and seeing Hashem more in the world, rather than being more and more like taken over by the emotion and by the outside, by the situation, and oh my God, I don't know what to wear, pizza or this and that. Like you pick, like whatever. Like they don't know what, like where it is that they're going, who's on first. And I've got two daughters also during
Or Pisces.
who are Pisces, yes, and they're very much Pisces. And because they have so much potential to be almost like
Right.
psychic, almost like, right? But
Right.
again, it's not about being out of this world, but it's about being honest and being grounded within your body. Because Adar is being within the body. It's the 6th month. Literally, it's a pregnant month that is within the body. So it's not being in the mind, which is where Pisces loves to be. They love to be floating in their minds like a fish bowl, right? Like two
Right.
souls swimming in the same fish bowl year after year. Uh,
Although he's an
also Adar.
anti-Semite, Roger Waters.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm
Wow.
No,
doing
I know.
a lot of Pink Floyd recently.
But it's like at the store when you go shopping, like years ago, is
Where are
one
you gonna
toothpaste,
go?
Tide. Oh my
Oh my
God, you
God,
got
it's
this
the biggest
free,
decision.
you got
That's the
yeah,
thing.
it's
You have to
crazy.
learn.
Oh,
You have to learn
Go with the
those
Virgo,
those decisions
you know.
are not. Well, it's interesting because Virgo is the exact opposite. It's 6 months away,
my
which is
daughter's a
very much,
Virgo.
which is very much like like a grounded kind of a
Yeah.
place. And
Wow.
it's
She
it's
my
these
daughter
two.
really balances me because we're opposites. So
Yeah.
when she's very,
Yeah. So
Mm.
what's the lesson of really of for Adar is to really be, I would say, to really be involved in physical kind of like grounding activities, because the will to be in the water is like is also very much like evading reality.
Water of Torah
And it's
also.
so water of Tars is great, yeah, but it's 100%, but it's also being very practical of seeing Hashem like in this cookie, like this is no, seriously, and that's why you say a bracha, because you're seeing Hashem in the cookie. You're not just seeing Hashem in the higher worlds and theoretical. You're like, this is great almonds and this and that. And it's like seeing Hashem in the wine that has all these hues and has all this smell and all the detail in it, and within the meat and within the, like, it's all like godly, right? It's all like Hashem that's really there. Hashem is like everywhere, and you're recognizing Hashem within nature. So it's almost like forced to be grounded, because that's its fixing, is by being more grounded. Whereas actually Elul, Virgo, is meant to really go beyond themselves, out of themselves, rather than almost coming back, because they are already grounded in order to come to out of the practicality and into the, I know this, I'm a Virgo. So I'm talking from like real
My daughter
here, and you're a Virgo also.
being Virgo, like she really needs to work a lot. She's being so grounded, really on letting go, kind of in the trust, because she's so grounded in that way. I find with her.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's that's the interesting thing about all these months. It really is fascinating.
And
Each month has its potential, but the potential of this month is our potential to see God within nature, and to see God within our challenges, within the obstacles, and not to try to evade them, but to face them and to allow them.
Wow.
And that's a tremendously healing thing to say to yourself. You could repeat this. You are allowed to feel these feelings inside of my body. Okay.
Wow.
We're not going to die from feelings.
Do not blame yourself.
Yeah, right.
Judge yourself. You are allowed to feel these feelings. And then all of a sudden you look at them, you're like, oh, wow, I'm actually looking at them and observing them, and I'm learning something. It's actually telling me something. And it's not like this scary thing. It's just I'm disconnecting from what I think is so emotionally like enwrapped and so real, being like, I'm feeling this, and the feeling isn't even from there. It's like from way back. That's just in my body, and it's just like it, and it's just like that energy is just connected to that energy, and that's why people who like to like complain and have negative kind of interactions,
Not in a sense.
they not in they connect to each other because they feed off each other. You know, that kind of like, oh, did you hear this? You should do it's like whereas your energy could be, I'm not looking at that, and I'm choosing to see the good, and I'm choosing to view this trigger, this situation, this cloud, as just being a cloud. And I'm allowed to breathe through it. I'm allowed to feel it. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, insight. But that insight, that inner insight is seeing Hashem, is a miracle, where you recognize that Hashem tailor-made this for you to learn that he is in the picture, just like that Patrick Swayze that goes like, I'm here, it's me, taking off my mask. You're like, oh, cool. I thought it was just like this, driving instructor that was just like annoyingly like stopping every few seconds. But Hashem is like, no, I'm here. I'm like, okay, just gonna take a breath. I'm gonna recognize you. Even in these challenging situations, but you're here in these challenging situations. And because Hashem is in nature, within nature.
It's wow.
Not above nature. He is above nature, but he's within nature. Even in the government office.
Oh,
That takes a lot of breathing in. That takes a lot of
yeah.
breath, believe me, or evading like I do. But again, you could do things to numb yourself from situations. You could do things to not feel these kind of feelings, which is what most people do, to numb themselves from feeling by overeating, by over drinking, by over consuming other things, by over even whatever it is. You don't want to face that feeling, and you'll do anything to actually truly fully feel it. But only when you fully feel it is when you can actually release it and transmute it.
Wow.
Right. So this month about that, and you see that it's a miracle, because if you're able to do that, then you're able to like stretch beyond your limit. Then you're able to see miracles that are constantly happening. Because
That's like the 12 step program
oh yeah, I don't know, I was never in it.
for addictions.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I mean, because I've had that, and it's so in line with Torah, and especially right now I'm in with the food, and you see these miracles, transformations, because
Yeah.
it says, like, in that
Absolutely.
opinion, it's a psychic change. So basically it's spiritual. So you have to experience it. You can't intellectualize it. And it's like a rearrangement of your heart, of your mind, your thought, your ideas, your behavior. It's like you're like
Yeah,
transmuted.
that's
It
beautiful.
really can be that way. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
one more point on that, Karen, that that actually relates to Adar, is actually called a tree. It's a type of a tree, and it's a level of what we're planting. It's a level of like conscious planning that we see that the sprouting or whatever it is, it's a tree. Like Adar is a state of mind that miracles don't happen to me, but I am miraculous. Like the whole world is a miracle and I'm a part of it, versus the miracles are there and it's coming here. Like it's all miracles. And that's the month of Adar, of planting an Adar
But
tree.
we also have to do our work, and like align ourselves with Hashem's will and say, like, well,
It's only about it's our work. That's it.
in our
That it starts with that, and that's where it's it. It's not about the other person.
Mhm.
It's not about the car that's in front of me. It's me, my reaction to it. It's not that person that's annoying you. It's about what is annoying you.
Okay, got it. Hello?
Yeah.
They're teaching us that it's important to see the good in it. But at least for me, the trap I got hooked or trapped in that if I have to see the good, but I'm feeling this anger or this trigger on this, then I'm not seeing the good, so I'm not being good. So I'm not.
Right, but you see, you're already judging yourself. That's your mind talking.
Okay.
Mhm.
Whereas you could be, I'm feeling I'm feeling these feelings. Just allow the feelings to be felt. Don't judge them. And then, right? Because you don't have to have the outcome. You could just
Oh.
feel the feelings. Don't judge the feelings.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Because then you'll have the right feelings, the right solution that's coming from the mind, that's going to come from a place, not which is expected to do something, or it's a judgment, I'm judging myself for it, but you'll naturally flow into what the answer should be.
Oh,
Because it's
like not to be afraid for the feeling itself.
right.
Not to.
Exactly.
Wow.
Feel exactly. Not to be afraid of the feeling itself.
You were talking about the driving, and a lot of times, like if I start driving and I see an accident, I say, if I left like 5 minutes earlier, that could be me. I really look at that a lot
Miracle. It's completely a miracle.
because things like that happen a lot.
It's a miracle. Like we're all like completely like we don't
Mhm.
understand what's going on. And it's coming, it's like living from that like wondrous place
Mhm.
is also a very happy place to be in. I can be like, oh yeah, yay, I'm stuck. Like great. Like what do I get to do now? I get to blast music, or I get to say Tehillim, or I get to like relax a little more. Like it's an opportunity for something. And I could
Right.
it could be hard a lot of time, or it could be like I'm choosing for it to be happy. I'm choosing this opportunity to be exactly where I'm meant to be, shkacha pratis, and to actually be as present as I can in that place, right? By breathing in
Hmm.
and to just be what am I supposed to be doing now in this place? And just not even it doesn't have to be an intense answer. It could just be very like, oh, I'm meant to actually do this. And it's very obvious. Hashem is just sending you. Hashem is like showing you like where to go. Oh,
Mhm.
you're doing this. Now you're doing that. And it's like almost like you're like a kid and you're having a good time with life. Life isn't this, has to be this like rigid, you know, big boy girl like world that's it, and there's no time for play unless you just totally schedule it. No, you could live life mischief like like a child. Like my grandfather was my really my I mean, I looked up to him and mentor. Yeah, my grandfather, may he rest in peace. He was 94 when he passed, but he never stopped being a child,
Yeah.
like in his state of mind. Like he was just
Mhm.
not that he was a pulpit rabbi, a very distinguished like German rabbi with like incredibly like oratory. He was an incredible orator. Um,
Mhm.
but he was so didn't take life seriously in the sense of he was very pragmatic and very, very
Right.
like in this world, yet he took things in a very light way. And it was just like everything is like, let's turn things over. German, yeah. German background, yeah. But that was his,
Beautiful.
but
That's
his wife,
amazing.
but his wife, my grandmother was exactly the opposite. She was very intense and
Well, balanced, I guess.
it's a yeah, yeah. So okay, so anyway, so on that note, I wanna thank you, Sally, Baruch Hashem. I wanna bless us all for a good month. Let's take a deep breath in for that, for the new month of Adar, and release, right? Just bring Adar into you. Try to realize planting Adar inside of us. What does that mean? Adar is like to plant an Adar tree, right? How do I want my nature, so to speak, to look like, right? Right? Am I looking at nature as being nature, or am I looking at nature as being miraculous, which is the truth, right? And I'm actually just merging with the miraculous. I'm merging with nature, right? And people live this way. They have opportunities, they have joy, they have connection, they have happiness, they have friendship. It's, we could say that it's not as common nowadays. And that's also the ego saying like, oh, because it's the news that's saying all this, but like, why does it have to be that way?
You don't have to listen to news, Tim.
When we don't have to listen to it, and we
Right.
could choose what we want to listen to and where our minds want to go to, and where we want to, where we want to be.
Well, also what we focus on brings more of that. So if we're
100%. That brings,
yeah, so
that brings the result. That brings
right.
the result.
Right. Think good and it will.
Whatever you focus on is what you bring about. Anyways, may we have a beautiful, beautiful new month. Chodesh Tov, a double month. We be Batel B'Shishim nullified in the 60 days of this beautiful because it's interesting because it's like this water, like this liquid. We become nullified in this like Adar, like water.
The flow.
At the same time, we also plant ourselves very deeply within this month. It's a month of water, but it's losing a certain part of ourselves, which is an external part of ourselves, of that the external is the reality, versus finding that the internal is the true reality. And that's the real nature, right? And that's the whole story of Purim. And that's the story of now that we're seeing. That's the story of the land of Israel, of 1967 war, of 73, of our survival, of like that we are. And we're like, oh, this is going on. And they're going to come from you. Like, are you kidding me? Like, why are you even trying? Or because the truth is because, right, there's something miraculous over here. That just like doesn't make sense. But we're like, where's these miracles? They're within nature. They're perseverance miracles that we bring them about, and we realize that Hashem is there. But we have to have those miracles before we go to the next month, which is the month of Nisan, which is seeing God above nature. You could only appreciate God above nature if you see him within nature. Otherwise, you don't really appreciate God above nature.
Saw the miracles in the war. I was watching something, and there was a man that he forgot to daven, so he saved his whole like brigade or troop because he was facing east, so he was able to see someone coming with a bomb. So because he was praying and turning in that direction,
right,
he saved everyone.
Exactly. That's a miracle. Okay, and there's so many miracles like that.
Right. Thank you so
Anyways,
much.
my friends, Shabbat Shalom.
Blessings.
Shabbat Shalom.
Many blessings.
Miracles for everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
Miracle.